Hey folks, so this came as a request. It's actually I've had quite a few requests for this one. Um, in paper two, you can need to answer questions on a UK city, looking at urban change in the UK. Now, everybody does a different city. My students, we look at Brighton, so this isn't for you guys. But other students up and down the country will focus on, say, Leeds or Manchester or London. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and give you the kind of basics of a UK city and cities in general, and then I'll give you a little bit about the regeneration question, which could come up as a 9 marker for, we'll do London and we'll do Manchester. Okay, so that will hopefully help some of you that are using those as case studies. So, paper 2, UK cities. Now, what you need to realise with cities is that people migrate to them. So you have international migration and you also have national migration. So let's draw some people. Now, this is called pull factors, when people are pulled into an area. Now, what you have, if we start with the international, so these are people who are coming from other countries, okay, international migrants. Now they're working migrants. This is a case where they are skilled workers and they are coming and filling gaps in employment in this country. So let's go. Number 1, they fill gaps in employment. Now this could be anything from working on the highways, could be things like the NHS. Okay, so lots and lots of opportunities here. Now that might bring about for them, because there's a reason that they were pushed out of their country. There's push factors, so it could be war, it could be lifestyle concerns, but yeah, it could bring basically better quality of life. So things like just being in a safe society, having access to education, healthcare, that kind of thing. I mention education because in some countries education isn't valued, particularly for women. So let's put for number 3, for example, girls' education. So they might come hoping to sort of improve their family's life, make things better. Now, you've got the international migrants that are coming to the UK, but over here we're going to have some more people. So if we just draw a couple more stick people. Now, these are our national migrants. So these are people who say live in the countryside of the UK, in rural areas, and they're moving to cities. Now this is still a big deal. Okay, so if we put rural to urban migration. Now, when I was younger, everybody wanted to work in London. It was a really big deal. Whereas nowadays, there are more opportunities to work in semi-rural and even rural locations, but you don't get. So the first thing people want is that kind of exciting lifestyle. Now, the city, let's take London for example, it's full of exciting things. It runs 24/7. There are so many things on offer all the time. So yeah, it's difficult to replicate that somewhere else. Not only that, but there are work opportunities which you can't get elsewhere. And thirdly, they have some of the very best cities up and down the country, have some of the very best universities. Now, what happens is these people who, let's say, are moving from, I go somewhere like West Sussex, let's say, or Somerset, and they're moving to, say, London, an area like that, and they're going to university there. But then what happens very often is they stay in London. So they finished university and they stay on. Now, when you get this and this together, so just draw a couple of arrows, what happens is, and this is true of all cities, okay, they become what we call a mixing pot. Some people say melting pot, but I like mixing. Becomes a mixing pot of different nationalities. Now, that has an impact on the city. So the types of shops, the types of bars, the types of the feel of the place, what's available, even hairdressers, everything. It all gets altered by the kinds of people who live there. And I mean that positively, because it can really bring and enhance a huge cultural value to an area. And for the most part, it's absolutely fine. However, there can be quite big gaps. If I draw this arrow, I'm going to put it here. So between the rich and the poor, there can be quite big gaps in all cities. That's true of all cities. There's a kind of level of social inequality. Now, what we'll do, just draw a line down here, okay, and just take that up there, and that on there, right. And what we're going to do now is we're going to look at our two areas. So, for firstly, let's have a look at Manchester. Now, I'll give you just the headlines for these. You can do your own extra sort of research, but as always, I like to keep things pretty clear and to the point. So everything we've said here applies to Manchester. This also applies to Leeds, Liverpool, London, all the major cities. Okay, but what's specific to Manchester and only Manchester, and we'll just put a sad face here, is it has been subject to terrorism. Now, it's had some really big terrorist attacks in the form of a bomb in 1996, which is a little while ago. But what happened, other than it being a completely awful and tragic event, is that bombing, those terrorist attacks, made way for new regeneration. So basically, out of the negative came positives. So, the word you want is regeneration of just the parts of the city that were affected. And basically, what they had was they had basically these opportunities for new public spaces, so areas for everybody to enjoy and to make it beautiful and as a nice place for leisure. Not only that, but they had opportunities for new attractions, and one of them is called it's actually called Spinning Field. So get this right, spinning, that's right, yeah, field, like that, sorry. Now, this has Selfridges, so this is properly high-end shopping, okay, and it has led to, if you put a big arrow, increased economic growth. So not only has it helped, people's quality of life, but it's improved the local economy with jobs and the multiplier effect, which is where money, it's almost like it multiplies in the environment, in the community. So as people get jobs there, they pay taxes and so on, and it really improves. So that's your first one. That's Manchester. Now, you only need one, so choose. If your teacher, or for any reason you don't remember which one you did, just pick one of these, because you don't need both. Now, the second one, I'll put it up here, is London, our capital city. So that's always a good one to do if you're not sure. And the area is Canary Wharf. Okay. Now, luckily for London, even though it was bombed heavily during the war, the reason for Canary Wharf is not quite the same. Basically, if we put another sad face, I'll do it here. So, Canary Wharf, which nowadays is skyscrapers, and it dominates London's skyline, and it's an incredible area, well known by everybody for being banking headquarters. Never used to be like this. Okay, so Canary Wharf in London was 60% derelict. Okay, so it was basically an old dock used for trade, and I'm not talking big trades and big money. This was a dock with very basic level of trading, and 60% of it was derelict, so it was a bit of an eyesore for the community. And we know when places are derelict, they can lead to additional crime and issues. So what was amazing is they completely remodeled it. Okay, so they brought in, firstly, new businesses, and part of that is now it is the banking headquarters. Now that's a really big deal, because banking is a tertiary industry, and it's the one which makes the most money in our country. Making money from money is the biggest input into our community and our economy. So it's the banking headquarters. It's attracted lots of skilled workers, and that's here in the UK and abroad. It's massively increased economic growth, and that's largely from the finance sector. So basically, the bank you bank with is probably there, probably has a headquarters there. But not only that, they've improved it quite well. They've put in something called an integrated transport system, which does encourage use of public transport. And it was a brownfield site, much like in Manchester. So they're improving an area that was already built on and not using greenfield, which is brilliant. And what they've done, I'll put that, it's a brownfield site, and they've done lots of urban greening there too, to improve the environment. So I'll stop there. I think that just gives you the key information that you need for those two cities. But remember, if these aren't your cities, and you were taught, say, Leeds or Liverpool or Southampton or wherever it is, Brighton, if you're one of my students, remember this top part here absolutely links to your city too. This is true with international migrations, migrations, and rural to urban migration, and how they become a bit of a mixing pot of different nationalities. So remember also that social inequality as well. In every city, you have your rich and your poor, and governments and around the world and councils in this country are all working to close that gap. So yeah, hope that's helpful.